How's it going, troops? Crusty Old Crow back again to do another one of the Tactical Perspective toy reviews. These are the reviews that I've taken up as a hobby to do, that I've decided to share on YouTube as a part of my filling time with my retirement. I recently retired from the forces after 25 years, and that I think qualifies me to become a toy reviewer. Sure. Either way, that's what I've been doing, and I've done a few of these videos now. I've got about 13, or maybe this is the 13th, and I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are having a good time watching these. I have paid attention. I do know that there are some people out there that have subscribed, and for those of you that are subscribers, I really appreciate that. Thanks very much for letting me know that you actually do enjoy the time, or at least make use of the time, are watching the videos and are taking something out of this. That's great for me, and I appreciate everybody who takes the time and watches one of these videos, and whether you love them or hate them, thanks very much for your time. Today we're going to be covering what I think is actually one of the more core sets in the G.I.Joe Classified line by Hasbro with regards to must-haves if you are into army building. Army building is something that I think is more of an adult thing more than anything, if not definitely it's a control aspect, an OCD thing maybe, but definitely it's got its ties to a budgetary thing, right? So if you think back to when you were a kid, and I heard another reviewer, I think maybe it was Kyle Peterson or somebody talking about this, and I thought it's so great that he talked about that. There's more to be, definitely a point worth discussion was the difference between when you're a kid with G.I. Joe and when you were an adult with G.I. Joe. So if you go back to the 80s when you were, most of you, if this is the demographic I think it is, you go back to a kid and you didn't have money of your own, you weren't working at a job, you were a child, and so the only figures you would get were probably, you get a treat every now and then because your parents thought you did good at something, they'd let you pick out an action figure or something, right? You'd hop down to Kmart or Zellers or whatever big box store, and you'd see what was available on that wave release, and you would have a hierarchy. You would say, oh my God, they've got Airborne, and they've got Dusty, I want those two. Major Blood, oh, down here, Crimson Guard, cool. So you would want one of each of those figures for sure. They all looked great because when you're a kid, it's just about the new thing. Yeah, that looks great and I like that, and now I want this new thing, and now I want that new thing. The problem with that is that when they released these troop building figures, the Cobra Infantry, the Crimson Guard, the Bats, the Vipers, which we're talking about today, those were always released with the intent of having multiples, right? Those were your squad-based troops. The idea, and what you'd see in the commercials when the kids were at the peak of the enjoyment of these toys, at least on the commercials, was G.I. Joe was up against a commander and a few different types of these troop building figures. But when you're a kid, you don't want to waste what limited picks you get out of those wave releases repeating something you've already got. Meaning, you got the Cobra Infantry, but man, you haven't yet gotten, say, Airborne. Next I want Airborne. And then after that, I want Dusty. Then I want Sergeant Slaughter. Right? You don't want to go back to that one you had already. And that was the conundrum when you were a kid, because you could never match that commercial unless maybe your parents really flourished you with, just showered you with these things. Nonetheless, that's just my long-winded way of going about just troop building and how it's changed as an adult, because now as an adult, we collect these for different reasons now. And Hasbro's done an excellent job of allowing us to revisit that collection we had in the 80s, now as grown-ass adults with incomes and, a different kind of prioritization into our wants and needs versus our likes. So when it comes to army building your Cobra sets, if you're a collector or a photographer or somebody who enjoys the dioramas and displays of it, whatever your aspect, now having multiple Cobra Infantry, let's call it, or squad-based figures, it's up on the priority. Maybe you need multiples before you can move on to the next individual you want. And that's exactly what Hasbro has given you. They give you this set, the Cobra Viper Officer and Vipers set. It's a 3-pack of the Cobra Vipers in the exact way you remember them from 1980, I think it was 3 or 4 when the Vipers came released. And we've got this excellent comic styled art. It looks like a Jim Lee kind of squad based appearance, like if they just came bursting through a flaming door and they burst in. So you have your officer here, I think it is. It's hard to tell if he is the officer if it weren't for this red vest that we know is the officer's vest, vice of the red and black ones. So, but the gray, I'm colorblind, so the gray doesn't pop out as much as the blue, but I see it. When I'm really close, I see it. So there's your officer, and there's the Cobra Vipers that he leads into the battle, right? So awesome. Quick little shout out to suggestive advertising. This is a psychological game that Hasbro played, and I love it. It's I love it just because it's so simple, right? This is a 3-pack of figurines. You get the officer and you get 2 Cobra Vipers. But as you look at this box, of course, you see that there are 5 here, and this will lend to, over time, a subtle feeling like a squad of Vipers should be 5 always, and that you're not complete. This suggests to you that you're not getting a complete Viper squad, but you're getting a really good footing on completing one. You should go buy 2 more, right? So you can either do that by buying another one of these, or you can buy the individual Vipers, and that's where this does produce value. Okay, so the individual Vipers here in Canada, they are a step up from the standard lot. Our standard base in G.I.Joe Classified, when it's released here in Canada, you're looking at about $35.99 retail at all times. You know, left or right of that, depending on the store and any kind of deals you're getting with memberships at certain game stores or what have you. Okay, this retails average $135.99. And then left and right of that, plus or $5, $10, like plus or minus, right? So 3 Vipers at $45 each, because that's what the Viper costs here in Canada. Just one regular Viper, the standard infantry Viper. He is a $44.99 figurine at every store I've gone to, maybe $1 or $2 left or right of that. So he's a step up from the lower, the more common Joe, like your Dusty or your CoverGirl or say an Outback. Okay, so for $44.99 for an individual Viper, you're getting this box set at $135. So if we just round it up, 45 is 90, and add another 45, there's your 135. That's the 3 soldiers and their gear covered for $135, which is exactly what you're getting. A box of 3 soldiers, and the price matches as if you were buying them individually. Until you add in the fact that you are getting what's shown on the back here, the blast effects. All right, so don't undersell the blast effects packaging, okay, or package that you get. You get, I believe it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 attachments for the weapons that these guys come with, and they will work in any of the Classified series open bore weapons. So at the end of the muzzle, if the weapon has the recessed hole in it, then these are meant to be put in there, and that suddenly changes your entire Joe collection. All right, if you were to try to put a retail price on the plastics and the coloring, the molds, the designs, and everything like that, if Hasbro wanted to release that in its own blister set or box set, you wouldn't be paying anything less than $20, I don't think. A $19.99 minimal suggested retail price, right? So there's your savings on this set, okay? On top of that, while I have seen the Cobra Viper in an individual package, I have not necessarily seen, and somebody in the comments can correct me, I've not seen an officer variant of its own. Perhaps Python Patrol has one, or the Crimson Guard Vipers, or whatever Viper variants they have, but the original core release Vipers, I think this is the only way to get the officer. Somebody want to correct me? Okay, so then you got to factor in that variant that's in there as well, and you're getting that exclusive kind of access to that. So for $135, you're actually getting closer, maybe let's call it a $165 package, a $30 saving. I think that's a fair ballpark estimate, left or right of that by $5 maybe. So there you go. So included in this package, you have your 3 figures, which they showed full scale. And you'll notice in the background, this time we have a dark background. This is a topographic map, guys. If anybody ever wonders what these designs are, and they have 0 military exposure, and they're not outdoorsmen or outdoor girls, what have you. Okay, this is a darkened, artful version of a topographic map. What a topographic map is, guys, this is where the tactical perspective comes in my reviews as I explain these things a little bit. This is an overhead view on a geographic area of concern, and it shows the high features and the separation and distance between high features, sea levels, and then depressions and what they elevate to get to sea level. Okay, so you'll see the rings, and then you'll see on a real topographic map, you'll see sometimes numbers which are increments of how much a hill is going upwards or a depression is going downwards. Okay, so that they've done a quick shout out to that. That's a very general description, so you know what you're looking at, guys. Just a little bit of UFI, useless freaking information. So we see this map again when we get into the box. This is what they packaged the weapons and accessories in, as opposed to the traditional blue ammo crate that they do in other box sets, which, and I'll be showing that in a second, but you can see you get your 3 basic, your 3 Vipers there, and all their accessories, and they do come with a fair amount, guys. And this is actually a 2-piecer right here. There is a silencer accessory which they've left attached to the sniper type rifle, which actually is compatible with the other weapons. Okay, as well, the mags are separate pieces as well. Just like with other Joe products, the mags are there for dioramic purposes and variants, right? So really, it's a little bit more than what you're seeing, just in that you've got 5 loose mags and a silencer as well. You'll notice the pistols are uniformed, and we'll get into that at the figures between the 2 troops, but the Vipers themselves. But as with the backpack, the pistol is very different from his subordinates, right? So we'll get into that a little bit later. On the side, you'll see that this is number 47 in the series, and you have your traditional qualify or primary combat function icons that if you were to go onto the Hasbro website, evidently I'm told you would be able to look up what these icons mean and what they denote the person's qualified to do, what makes them unique, or what makes them so deadly. All right, I've already talked about the front box. I talked about that. I talked about all of this. You'll notice that one of the other differences on this one, there's no side art that matches or parallels the front art on this. And we see another example of this when we get this box open, which I've done a while ago, guys. I don't necessarily always do an unboxing, and this isn't an unboxing, but I will show you how it came. So, no plastic-free wrap. These things are bound into the cardboard. Now, unlike what you've seen with a lot of the others, when you take them out, they have a graphic in the back. For Torpedo, they've got a close-up of Torpedo. Same as with Rock and Roll. They're going into portraits a lot more, and that looks great. But before that, it was just the generic Joe symbol or Cobra symbol, or if you got one, a Dreadnought symbol, what have you. The Vipers, they just went plain. Right, they cut as much cost out of the packaging as they could to try and keep this thing achievable. This thing, like I said, right, retailing at about $125, and I think, guys, if you were to look at what we're getting with the Televiper and what we're going to get a little bit down the road with the upcoming Cobra Vamp Clutch and Vamp, I think $125 should be a price. $125, $135 is a price that we should be getting comfortable to be paying at least semi-annually or annually on a Joe vehicle release or multi-pack release. So that's fine. The ammo crate, I did talk about that, and then it bailed on me. There it is. There you go. You got that topographic ammo crate again. Just nothing really featured. You got some grid intersection points here, and then it opens up just like the other ammo crate. And inside, sorry, it doesn't open up just like the other ammo crate. Let me retract that. It opens up from the end. It's not the top opening unless you start ripping. But inside you would get the baggies as you got in the other Joe sets. And I didn't keep any of them, but the baggies were there and the instructions, all that. But just to show you another time where they went with a simple print graphic. Maybe this was cheaper, I don't know, but there you go. Anyways, that's the packaging they come in, and then the wiring and everything like that. So let's turn the camera over to the figures itself. It's why you guys are here. Let's have a look at them. Let's discuss them. I'm going to go over my usual head-to-toe inspection, military style, talk about the points to sustain, points to improve, any tactical notes that I think are worth sharing or useless freaking information again. And then I'll give it my playability grade and my tactical grade and sum up the video. All right, let's roll it over then, guys. Stay with me. Again, they're one takes. I don't seem to be very good at editing anything or finding the ability to do it gracefully, so here's how we do it. So there we have our guys in the background. Speaking of background, guys, you know I like to just hang out in my garage and do these videos, and I like to listen to a lot of my beloved Canadian musicians that I've been playing the hip in the background. I think pretty much everybody that's Canadian knows who the hip is, but if you're in the US down there, that's why you're hearing music you probably don't get too much access to. It's because it's Canadian. Anyways, here we have them. We got the Cobra Viper officer right here in his gray, red, and black attire. He's got the gold features on his polarized polarized representation pieces, his visor, his battle mask there. We've got our two Vipers, our standard Vipers. They're in the dark blue and the red with a black vest and other accent features as well. And I've got them just posed and just showing you just kind of some posability with them. The bases, guys, just so you know, these are not things that Classified come with, and I don't know, maybe down the line if that will ever change. Hopefully, maybe they'll start coming up with some dynamic stuff for their characters in that regards, but maybe then we'll have to eat some extra cost. I don't know. Maybe that's why they don't do it. Nonetheless, you can get these pretty cheap, guys. They're not a whole lot to spend. I'm spending on average $2 to $3 a base for a figurine, and that's worth it just to keep these things standing upright on a shelf that could get bumped, right? So worthwhile. All right, so we'll have a look just some of the differences between the officer and the actual. There is just color, guys. It is strictly color, and then the sidearm, that's it. These are the exact same molds. They didn't do anything exemplary here to make the officer much more different, and they didn't really need to, guys. There's no reason to make a special character out of just a ranking officer in a generic group. Okay, so you can see they all have that uniform scarf as well, and that is a detachable piece. And I am going to detach it because they've done something rather progressive in modern times with the Joe collection that they weren't doing back in the 80s, and we're gonna show that. So I think for today, I'm just going to pop some stuff off. We'll take it off the officer, okay? And just go as we go from there. We'll do the inspection on the officer, knowing that all the things I pick up on the officer are probably going to translate equally over to his two subordinates, okay? So if we have a look at the officer, and I'll just give you a more close look at him. Yeah, we'll leave him on the base for this. So very great detail, as is trademark with all the other Joes in this series. Pardon me. Oh, bang your camera. Good job. For those of you at home that need to take some gravel to watch my videos, I'm sorry I am not in a position to reimburse you for that, but I do realize that I probably owe you. Okay, so you can see this just great detail, very tactical sensibility in most part. A lot of that, I will talk about it, but there you have your closer look at this gentleman. And sorry, I just won't call him sir. Yeah. All right, so we have this officer. You can see we'll start at the top. With the helmet, you've got those molded in plating lines that denote that this thing does have some ballistic qualities to it, meaning it could ricochet a bullet and stop shrapnel, protect this guy's brain housing group. Good. We would expect no less. Big difference between when we saw these guys back in the 80s is you'll notice maybe these heads are just sitting a little bit better with your sense of proportion, and they should be. Okay, if you remember back to the Cobra Viper's head back in the 1980, I think 3 or 4 release, they were circular. They were bulbous. And they really kind of, I don't know if anybody else felt this way, but I certainly did. The proportion was disturbing and offsetting. It made the guy look like he would have a very muscular neck from the weight of that helmet. They've fixed that for the classified line. They've had a look at how more sleek and dynamic helmets can be. And they've definitely designed something that absolutely pays homage to their original design in a seamless transition while now becoming tactically viable. Okay, some key points about the helmet that I'm going to point out as I'm going to remove the backpack because it's going to come off at some point anyways, the scarf, and I'm going to remove the weapon just so we can talk about all the other nuances of this figure. All right, you stand easy. Okay. Here we have them, and with the helmet, as we go up, where you see the red venting or padding on the side, this makes sense. He's got an enclosed headset system, which is clearly going to work on some sort of heads-up display on the other side of the ballistic plate or whatever his mask is, that allows him to see through it. I imagine there's some digital and audio equipment at play in these helmets, to keep them tactical, right? At least maybe a GPS or something, comms, what have you. They're going to heat up, and the helmet's going to get hot no matter what, unless you're standing in the Arctic perhaps and not doing a whole lot. But either way, you're going to sweat in this thing. So having air circulation is going to be important, and I think that's what's represented there. And, it's not like guys shave their head and everybody's got the same shaped head. When you get to the back of the head, they've included more padding there, and that's a realistic detail to allow the helmet to fit lots of different heads. It would be something that you would see in a real helmet design, is some give but some should I say fitting measure, right? So there's your fitting measure. These goggles are polarized just like his mask, and you can see in the background that the others are silver, and they do come off. Quick warning about the goggles: while they are awesome and they are definitely in the spirit of the original Viper, remember the original Viper had them fused on, and back in the 80s. These ones, you guys, you have to set them a little bit down on the lip, which is fine. That's how you would do it, right? But just be advised, they do kind of pop off a little easily. All right, but overall, very happy with this helmet design and the head design of the character. And you can see when I have that scarf off, he's got that range of motion in there, right? Okay. So let's get to the neck for a second. So here we can see the peach skin tone of a Caucasian type or Mediterranean. He's got that collared shirt under there and a red undershirt under there. And all of that's a really nice little detail that you're not going to see when you are putting the scarves on these guys, okay? But that scarf is, as somebody said about the Flint character in my comment with his scarf, how I didn't like it, that scarf is trademark and very much a part of this character. So you put the scarf back on, but I wanted to give you a look at what they look like underneath the scarf, and just a minor bonus point that they've added into this for us to keep us happy, guys. So I talked about under the scarf. Going down to the shoulders, you can see the linear extra padding that his shoulder has received, and that it's just a plain kind of functional uniform shirt under there. But under here, he's got his load-bearing vest, and he's got ballistic plating. And guys, ballistic plating is something that I've harped about in one of my earlier videos, and then I kind of let it go, saying it's Joe privileged not to put plates in if he didn't want to. And it does hinder the articulation of the figure's forward bending and rearward bending motion the more you add to their chests and backs. Because when you add stuff to the chests and backs, you better make it look real. And then you're getting into depth, density, width, and then range of motion issues. And these are presented in this figure through this vest and plate system, in that while they do have these traditional bending point that you would see in another figure, i.e. say Outback, this hinge system is present in the Vipers. It's reduced capacity because of the vests. All right. I do like the vests. I like you can see that they are a very functional design. The vests I used in Afghanistan and in Kosovo, during my time, they were a Velcro strap system. It's shoulder straps. They were different than this one, but the idea is the same. Shoulder straps and then 2 waist straps, and then all of this was a ballistic material inside that was meant to stop shrapnel and other stuff. And then under that, I would have 2 ballistic plates, one on the front, one on the back, to keep the harder hitting stuff from hitting my vital blood pump and spinal column. Okay, so they've incorporated that very well here. I see a pair of grenades here, and we know that this is a mag for one of the weapons. It's just not a mag for the weapons I've included in this shot, because as you can see, they're using a different caliber round in these, and these are wider magazines than this mag. These mags are for the sci-fi guns, which I'm going to be covering towards the end of the video. They aren't necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not real, but I mean, they look ballistically cool, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, I didn't include them. I'm not a big fan of them. That's why they're not holding them here. But that is the mag for the weapons that they've included here. And then we have a bunch of pouches along the bottom. And even those I don't think could house that mag. But let's let that detail go, because maybe they're housed in these leg pouches. A point of confusion I'm having with this character is I've been racking my mind. You can see he's got this thing that he's got what normally would be other mag pouches, or a map pouch, or a utility pouch where you keep your GPS or even a first aid kit. He's got a opened pouch with a 2-strap system to hold whatever's in there, and I can't make out what that is. I was trying to wonder if that was a door breaching charge, or it's, I think, a bit small to be a mortar plate of any kind, but even a tablet, but I think it's supposed to be some sort of breach charge. But if anybody knows, who's seen the cartoons and seen Vipers using this particular detail right here on the chest, please let me know in the comments what that is, because it's on all of them clearly, as it's the same sculpt, but it's always the same color as the vest itself. They didn't change the color, and therefore I'm kind of confused what it is. The grenades, you'll see on him, they're black, on them they're red, and then on the backpacks are all gray. And that's just a little it's great that they've got a lot of grenades, guys, but a little detail I would have liked to have known is, change the sculpt if you're going to change the colors, so that I know it's a different grenade. Because when you're just changing the color, it doesn't make sense to me why. There's a lot of different types of grenades out there that these guys could be using, guys. We're talking flashbangs, we're talking fragmentations, incendiary smoke grenades, colored smoke grenades, all sorts of stuff you could use, right? 9-bangers. All of them there, and they wouldn't all share the same body housing. To me, these are all flashbang grenades. They're not frag, and I don't understand the color differentiation, but except for that, extra colors cost extra money. But I would have liked to have seen maybe a different sculpt for the ones on the chest than the ones on the backpack. That's just me. All right, moving down, you can see the padding on the legs. You can see he's got the inside padding, which would make sense if he's riding a bike. So if you have a couple of coils, yeah, the Vipers do look good on the coils. But I'm a little confused as to what they were doing with that design of the padding. Don't get me wrong, I like the padding, but if I were to just pivot this character just slightly, you can see that he's got it on his hip, and then it suddenly stops to where it shifts to the inner thighs, right? And it almost looks like I'm gonna break this guy's femur and simulate a scream of pain for what I'm about to do. All right, we'll do it. Left or right, buddy? Okay, left it is. Right? So to me, I think at some point, somebody thought maybe the design should have been this. Ah! There you go. Right? Like that to me made sense as the design of the fabric, but that's not what the character got. He got it inverted at a very strange point in the pants for it to be inverted. Sorry about that. look at that. But I will give it to the Vipers. They are a tough lot, and he handled it like a champ to make my silly little point. Good job. All right, back on your base. So I thought that was a bit confusing, but overall it didn't ruin the pants for me. They are good tactical pants. I love the knee pads and the pad system on them. The side holster is uniform throughout. Very cool system. The thing I don't like about this holster system with an army builder is I think you're not acknowledging the left and right-handed shooter. You can do that with a rifle, no problem, but when you get to the holster selection, then you're saying everybody is a right-handed shooter. I don't know how I would have gotten around it. I don't know if I necessarily care. I'm just pointing it out because I'm that guy in the room, apparently. The boots are fantastic. Clearly some armor plating covering up those laces and ankle support, and that's fine. They're the Cobra Viper. They're a bit of a heavier hitter. You don't want them going down just because maybe a mortar round landed within 30 meters of them, and now a rock has hit them in the shin and they're incapacitated. That kind of stuff I can get behind. That's the, same as the gauntlets. I would say the gauntlets kind of interfere a little bit with some of the wrist range of motion, but it's negligible because it's any range of motion you're having as far as issues go, it's the best. And the last point on this figure with the inspection, I'm just going to point out quickly, is the backpack issue. As you'll have seen, if you guys are familiar with like Gung Ho or other vested characters, it's great that they are a separate piece molded on and then placed over the frame of the character and a different torso and everything like that. However, when you get into posing, if you can see clearly, you see how that hole is lined up nicely. But if I were to take advantage of bending this guy, say I wanted him diving, right? Now you see the hole has shifted in alignment, and that's going to affect the peg placement, okay? So be cognizant of that. Just it's not going to ruin your value. You just have to kind of shift the vest around using forefinger, back finger, push-pull action a little bit, and you can get that peg back in, right? But just realize you've got the tension on the peg, and these are plastic pieces. So just patience and grace, guys. Patience and grace with all things. I know when it comes to fixing a lot of these plastics, hot water seems to be the way. Heat it really hot, let the molecules relax, and then cool it down, and they'll freeze where they are, more or less. And but with those pegs, once they're gone, I think it's you've got new problems to deal with. I did talk about what was under the scarf, and the reason being is if I take you to the two infantry, Johnny Relax here, who's taking his goggles off because they're going to fall off anyway. If you see under his scarf, we have another Caucasian male, and I did add that little, stop hitting the camera, the little smoky effect, having just fired a shot recently. His gun's still cooling down. So there's our Caucasian male Viper, and then we have our darker fleshed Viper of a different ethnicity. And clearly he's African American or dark fleshed, right? So I think that's great that they've incorporated that. You don't have any other flesh pieces on there to denote it, but I do know with the Televiper, I think the hands perhaps on top of the faces were also versatile in that way. You could fit them. One of the other things I want to just tell you really quickly for the guys who haven't picked them up yet and maybe are on the fence about where these sit with a priority. One of the main reasons I really wanted this guy was because of how good he looked with the Vipers, right? And there you have, I'm not going to put him on a base. I'll just stand him up there or put him beside him. But you can see Scrap Iron virtually belongs with these guys, right? Like, come on, Scrap Iron. Do me the dignity here. Okay, so you can see that Scrap Iron he belongs with a group like that. It would be wrong to not mention it here. So I'll just put it back because the focus isn't about Scrap Iron. That's another video. Okay, and now I'm going to bring over, the accessories that are coming with these guys. So we're going to dismiss the officer. He's got no group to go to. And, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late, right? So he's got to go. All right, so here's all the blast effects, the additional blast effects, and the other rifling that comes with them. This is that sci-fi rifle that you get 2 of that I was saying for them. Not a biggest fan of, but I mean, it's got its ballistic potential. I don't know if this is based off a design that exists somewhere else, and they just kind of cobraed it up, but it does have the detachable mags. And under the mixed reviews of people who like the detachable mags and those who don't like having such a small piece that can be lost, it is what it is. It's throughout the sets. I personally like them, but I can understand why someone doesn't. The silencer I talked about, you got that there. It functions with the pistols. I will show you the pistols that you get, but you can see it kind of fits on any weapon that you can think of on there. We can put it over on this, guys. And while we're over here, hey, look over there. What? Yoink. Oh my God, can I yoink it or not? Yoinkies. Take this guy's pistol so we can have a look at that. That's your standard base Viper pistol. Put that on the tray. Sneak into the O group. Unattended kit. And now the officer's going to be serving some extras because I got his pistol. All right, so you can see the officer is very different. It's a red one, and it's a different gun completely. It's a different, it looks more like an auto pistol than the other one. These firing effects, you get plenty of them, and these are very versatile. You can see the peg, how it mounts, and now you can look at your other Joes and go, oh yeah, it would look good on that. These are part systems, so you can stack pieces depending on the effect you want, including that smoky piece that I showed you earlier. And then the spray and pray piece that you can do in a variety of poses with that. Okay, those are the accessories it comes with. That is the Cobra Viper set, guys. That's the one you get. Pretty awesome little set, great for troop building. One thing I do like about this that I didn't like when I saw the Cobra Valkyrie set that they're doing is everything is the same on the troops that are meant to look the same. If you guys have a look at the Cobra Valkyrie set that's coming out, they are fantastic sculpts. They nailed it. They even come with their own blast effects. Yeah, there's only 2. But one of them's got brown kit and the other has black kit. And I think the reason for doing that, guys, I'll be straight up with you about that. Pardon me while I get that camera back to my Patriot chair. The reason I would do that is the same reason I did this, guys. So you would buy at least one more set. So that if you wanted to have 2 Cobra Valkyries with 2 sets of black backpacks, you would be able to have that because you had 2 sets. That's the only way you're getting those 2 black pieces of kit for that one trooper and 2 brown for the other. That's how you're going to get your symmetry. That's how you get your balance. As adults, especially us ADHD and OCD types, that's worth paying for apparently. And Hasbro will happily identify that. So overall, the playability grade on these figures, I'm giving it an A+. I would give it an A, I'm giving it an A. I would give it an A+ if we could get around that vest back issue somehow with the figures that need to look loaded out like that with the armor and stuff. Especially if you want to, they're designed to be troop builders. You need to have a lot of these. So these little issues like that, they multiply as you have them. So A+ on play, or A on playability, pardon me. And I'm going to go A on tactical. Yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi to these. Some of the loadout doesn't necessarily make sense. It's just the little nuances. But definitely a hard A. I love the weapon selection. I love the blast effects. I love the backpack. The helmet makes sense. The helmet feels right. Everything kind of feels right. Just little details I would dialed in a little bit. Maybe a bit of sculpt. But Hasbro, I'm not casting doubt their way. Not at all. I'm also going to give these guys a bonus grade of a bonus A just for having diversity in a uniform stance, right? For $135, you get 2 types of diversity. You get the diversity between the officer and the non-commissioned member, the MCM, the Viper general, like general types of Viper. And you get the diversity within the ethnicities, which I think is a good move and definitely lends to army building in that, you know, it gives you more believability. All right, guys, that's it for that review today. I just wanted to let you guys know I really appreciate every like, every subscription. I value it. It's not that it validates me. I validate myself, but it lets me know I'm not necessarily wasting my own time. Somebody's getting something out of it. So if you do like these, please smash that like button. If you want to subscribe, welcome aboard. I'm glad to have you for as long as you're willing to be there. And I do pump out at least a video a week. Lately, it's been a few videos a week. So, and I have a lot of my own content as far as some of the conversions I'll be doing, and I've got more coming that way, including some vehicles. I will say I'm trying real hard, guys, to motivate myself to get to editing these, make them shorter. This one's going to be the 45-minute type video just because we're talking about a 3-pack figure, and I'm keeping it as it is. It's the way I like doing it. I'm comfortable with it. I don't need to be a star. I just need to talk. Speaking of talking, guys, I gotta let you know it's talking about these figures is really therapeutic for me. Sometimes it's a little hard to look back at your career and see where you are after you've retired. And the Joes kind of take me back to some happy memories, not just with my childhood, but with my career and missions I was on and people I served with. It's been a rough week for me a little bit. I'm managing to keep my morale up, and this helps. But we lost a couple of guys I was serving with last week, and then another one this morning. And one of them took his own life, and I'm getting really used to this, guys. And that's the sad part of being a soldier. And if there's any other soldiers out there, and any veterans, or if you know any, they'll tell you about this. As you get older, you start having more friends that aren't around that you served with for a variety of reasons that maybe you don't have those reasons outside of the military, and it's pretty sad to do it. So today I was thinking about these guys a lot, and it's I'm not gonna get emotional or anything like that, but I just want you to remember these are toys we're talking about. I'm having a blast talking about them. When I talk about the tactical stuff, that's part of my connection with them. But soldiers are real guys, man. They have real issues, okay? And don't over-romanticize that role, okay? It's awesome to have your heroes. It's awesome to have our characters. But let's not put a standard of being above humanity on them, all right? Heroes are heroes. Imagination is imagination, but reality is something we have a responsibility to. So that's all I'm going to do about that. Enough preaching this. Guys, thanks again for showing up. I will see you next time. Take care.